Imagine a young girl, born into a world where women's voices echoed only in silence, who dared to seize the throne of China's mightiest empire, not as a shadow, but as its blazing sun. What if her greatest weapon wasn't armies or edicts, but a forbidden reversal of power that history desperately tried to bury? In the year 624, during the golden age of the Tang Dynasty, a child entered the world not as royalty, but as the daughter of a prosperous timber merchant in Sichuan's rugged mountains. Her name was Wu, and in a society where women were expected to fade into the backdrop of men's ambitions, she refused invisibility. While her brothers pursued scholarly pursuits under the sun, Wu studied in the dim light of secrecy, devouring history, poetry, and philosophy. She understood early that knowledge was a sharper tool than any blade for navigating a world that bent only for the powerful. At just 14, fate intervened with an imperial summons. Wu was selected as a secondary concubine for Emperor Taizong, an honor that masked a life of confinement. The Forbidden City was no sanctuary, it was a labyrinth of waiting, where hundreds of women languished for a fleeting imperial glance. Many vanished into obscurity, their dreams dissolving like mist. But Wu did not wait passively. She observed the intricate dance of court politics, the subtle bows, the weighted silences, the glances that carried hidden meanings. Emperor Taizong scarcely noticed her, and years slipped by in untouched isolation. When Taizong died, tradition demanded Wu's retreat to a Buddhist convent, a place of enforced seclusion and erasure. At 26, she should have faded into anonymity, her life a quiet echo. Yet, against all customs, she returned to the palace as consort to the new emperor, Gaozong, Taizong's own son. This unprecedented act shattered taboos, whispers of secret alliances and flawless timing swirling in its wake. Wu Zetian, as she would become known, left nothing to chance. She moved with calculated precision, rivals quietly displaced, the empress demoted, absences accumulating like autumn leaves without a trace of public scandal. As Gaozong's health faltered, Wu became his unspoken voice, issuing decrees, negotiating with diplomats, and rendering judgments. The empire bent to her will long before the title followed. In 690, she cast aside pretense, declaring herself Empress Regnant of China, founding the Zhou Dynasty. For nearly 2 decades, she ruled alone, reorganizing ministries, elevating talent over lineage, and governing with unyielding efficiency. Scholars recoiled, quoting ancient texts that no longer held sway, for Wu was not a mere anomaly, she inverted the entire order. Her most profound innovation lay not in public policy, but in the shadowed chambers of the palace. Understanding that power thrived on information and loyalty, she established the Gong'an, an official institution that functioned as a network of intimate confidants. These men, selected for their youth, intellect, and discretion, were not mere companions, they were extensions of her senses. Trained to listen amid whispers, observe in silence, and report subtleties that betrayed disloyalty, they became instruments of control. Ambitious officials offered sons as pledges, while agents scoured provinces for suitable candidates, untouched, compliant, and unburdened by connections. Among them rose Xue Huaiyi, a rural youth elevated from obscurity. Ordained as a monk to veil his role, he became Wu's emissary, overseeing grand projects like the Hall of Light. Yet arrogance swelled, a dispute led him to arson the very symbol of her power. His end was swift, ambushed, executed, his ashes scattered without mourning. Shen Nanqiu followed, a serene figure, perhaps a musician or healer, who sought no titles, offering quiet solace amid the court's turbulence. His unassuming presence endured until a rumored self-prepared tonic claimed him, leaving only faint whispers. The most formidable were the Zhang brothers, Yiji and Chongzong, introduced through elite channels. Educated and ruthless, they transformed the Gong'an into a shadow ministry, gatekeeping audiences, drafting edicts, and wielding influence that blurred lines between empress and favorites. For the Confucian elite, this was intolerable, not the institution itself, but its efficacy in upending patriarchal norms. Wu had reframed intimacy as statecraft, desire as strategy, mirroring what emperors had long claimed as right. By 699, the Gong'an was formalized with ranks and duties, its members poets, ritualists, and spies. Exaggerated tales spoke of thousands, but the reality was a calculated few, a mirror reflecting power stripped of gender. Yet absolute authority erodes from within. As the new century dawned, Wu's health declined, fevers, failing vision, a body betraying the indomitable spirit. The Zhang brothers flourished in her shadow, their youth a stark contrast to the aging court, beauty wielded as authority. Rumors festered into dissent, rituals veiled in excess, suspicions thickening like fog. The palace turned inward, the Gong'an, once her shield, now a cage. A coalition of officials and generals coalesced in secrecy. In the winter of 705, change arrived not with fanfare, but armored silence. The brothers were seized at dawn, executed in the gardens, their heads displayed as a grim proclamation. Wu, frail and feverish, was confronted by unfamiliar faces. Forced to abdicate through hollow ceremonies, she was relocated to isolation, her decrees annulled, her presence rendered invisible. Death came quietly, unmarked by grandeur. History's retribution was subtler, erasure through distortion. Records edited, names expunged, her legacy twisted into scandal. She became the Empress of excess, her administrative genius ignored, her rule reduced to caricature. Centuries later, fragments endure, reforms, promotions based on merit, testifying to a sovereign who governed as any emperor, yet faced condemnation for daring the same privileges. Her tomb in Luoyang stands blank, a silent testament. Wu Zetian proved power knows no gender, history, however, does. In reviving her story, we shatter the facade, revealing not a monster, but a mirror to unchecked ambition. If this dark chapter of history shook you, subscribe to Deadly History for more hidden tragedies and untold betrayals from the past. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with someone who loves Deadly History stories.